Hey guys, so the Calgary Police released a statement warning parents about, their kids possibly getting into white supremacist groups, right? So I'll go through the list initially, but the main issue people pretty much had was how they said like listening to heavy, violent music could be a sign that he's in a group. But I'll go through it first, just to show you kind of like the broad net that they're essentially casting, right? There are some things in it that are like, okay, yeah, if somebody is saying some of this stuff, it would, maybe you should ask them about their beliefs and maybe they're in certain groups. But a lot of the other stuff was very broad, right? But I'll go through it. Sudden lack of interest in school. So right away, like that could be for many other reasons, depression, maybe they're getting bullied, there's so many reasons people could lose interest in school. They're not challenged by it. I don't know, right? So right away, that's kind of like you should just X that off because that's going to a lot of people fall under that category. And second, adopting new groups of friends and staying out late without explanation. Now, this is what all kids do. This is what all teenagers do, right? They're creating like a panic for no reason. When I was a teenager, I would not explain where I go at night to my parents, and I would be out all night. That's what kids do. That's what teenagers do. Okay. The third thing is violence or secretive behavior. It's like, yeah, that is a problem, but violence or secretive behavior could be, could explain many other things as well. They could be drug dealers. They could be in a gang. They could be, in a fight club. I don't know. So a lot of these things are very broad. They could be indication of many things. And then overt hostility to parents and family, disobedience, rudeness. Like, this is just common basic shit, and stuff like you can attribute to bad kids, kids that do this, like, being rude to your parents and all this stuff. Like, that's the reason your kids are probably doing that is because you're probably a bad parent and you haven't taught your kids not to talk to you like that. I was never overly mean and rude to my parents. Disobedient to some extent, yes. But, I would never say fuck you, or I've never said anything like that. So that usually comes from the parents and how they raise their kids and what their kids find is acceptable. And then racist graffiti drawings and doodlings. Like, yeah, okay. if your kids are doing racist shit and drawing racist stuff, that's probably an indication that maybe they're racist. But you got to be careful how you classify racism, because nowadays, if he's drawing a Pepe meme or something, that's racist. So, we got to figure out what the classification of racism is first before you can say it's racist, right? Like lost civilizations that somebody had graffitied in Canada not long ago. That's not really racist shit. Or like George Soros owns the media, like something else that was graffitied here that was like, this is anti-Semitic. Like that's not really anti-Semitic. He does own a lot of shit. I'm not saying he owns the world, but he does own a lot of things. He's kicked out of many countries because of his influence on those countries. Like he's not allowed in a lot of places. But playing loud, heavy music with violent lyrics. And this is what got people pissed off, because they're like, what, listening to heavy metal and all this stuff? Like Styx Hexenhammer made a good point. He's like, the majority of people in the alt-right do not like that type of music. They think it's degenerate, right? They're like, oh, they're degenerate, talking about drug use and fucking women and this. They think that's degenerate behavior, right? They're going to like stuff like classical music, etc. They're not going to like, necessarily heavy rock music. So right away, all these things you're saying so far can be applied to many different people and that have nothing to do with being a white supremacist. And then stereotyping, scapegoating of certain groups, name calling, racial and religious slurs in conversations all the time. So yeah, if you're saying racist shit, your kid's probably racist. May not be a white supremacist, but he's probably a racist, right? So that's not really a big surprise. If your kid's saying racist shit, yeah, you should that is a problem that you should probably, talk to him about or talk to her about. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're a white supremacist. But it's definitely something to worry about. And yeah, you should be teaching your kid better shit. And then there's making racist or bigoted comments about minorities, immigrants, or foreigners. Okay, once again, saying racist shit. It's a sign that your kids are racist, probably. And it's like, what? You're a bad parent, probably, to begin with, to teach them to be racist, or to be susceptible to certain racist things. And once again, you got to make sure what they're saying is actually racist, because a lot of things these days are being labeled as racist, which are not racist, right? Calling out Islam, which is not, or Muslims, which is not a race, is not racism, right? So there's many things that are called racist, which are not, begin with. And then making a marked repugnance to consider certain ethnic or religious groups as fully Canadian or even human. It's like, what? Okay, like, once again, if you're openly racist, then yeah, that's probably a sign of something. So you don't even need to really tell parents this, right? This is, you're just wasting your time. It's like you put in all these things that are like, oh, just, if your kid's being racist, it's a sign of him being a racist. It's like, no shit. But you tacking on all these other things is kind of just like, it's going to put other kids into that category now that aren't all these other things. Because now parents are going to be like, okay, he's not racist, not this, but he listens to loud, violent music. He's rude to me. He stays in his room, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he's a white supremacist, So, yeah, this is stupid. And then wearing or displaying Nazi propaganda and symbols as swastikas, Iron Cross, or military clothing and paraphernalia. Duh! Yes! Once again, if you're dressing like a Nazi saying racist shit, you're probably a Nazi. But you don't see a lot of that happening. And I don't think you need to tell parents that if your kid's dressing like a Nazi, saying Hitler did nothing wrong, and doing all these things, I don't even think you need to tell them that maybe they're being influenced by white supremacists or something. And it's like, and then the last thing is like changing their appearance. Well, a lot of people change their appearance for a lot of different reasons. Like, stop. Like, this is a moral panic. If you watch people like Styx and Sargon, etc., they talk about this, and they're completely right. This is a moral panic. People will eventually get over it. And already I see a lot of people don't really take it that fucking seriously to begin with. It's not like they didn't take, it's not like they took the devil or the devil worshiper moral panic that happened in like the 90s, etc. They took that more seriously than they are taking now. Or they're not really acting like we did in the McCarthyist era. There's still a lot of people calling each other Nazis, but it's not to the same, I would say, extent. It's getting bad. It's getting pretty bad. There are a lot of people being fired, but I'm not sure if we're all going to be really looking at this list, the Calgary list, and being like, okay, and taking it very seriously, because a lot of it is just nonsense, and the other half of it is like obvious fucking shit that nobody needs to be fucking told, right? So, yeah, this is a stupid list to try to just, Calgary, or the police force is just showing, oh, see, we're cracking down on this issue. But it's like, they're not doing anything. They're not preventing anything. Focus on real crime instead of stopping like hate speech and graffiti and worrying about a non-fucking existent issue as white supremacists rising up and stuff, especially in Canada. Like, come on, fuck off. Seriously, fuck off, okay? Let's worry about the massive amounts of refugees that we're bringing in, or that we're letting in through the fucking border, that are also, some of them have criminal records and stuff. Like, let's worry about real issues instead of these fake issues that aren't actually a problem in our society, right? Antifa is a much bigger problem. You should be letting out things releasing things to say, like, explaining, hey, your kid may be an Antifa if he's for open borders and he likes to wear black masks and hit people over the head with sticks and whatnot. Like, yeah, I mean that's more of a problem in my opinion. But if you like my content, subscribe and have a great day. See ya.